The following program is presented by the HTM Podcast Network.
Welcome to another episode of Turnbuckle Talk, presented by the Hitting the Marks Podcast Network and in association with NDPW.com. Turnbuckle Talk is sponsored by Collarandelbowbrand.com, where you get 10% off when using promo code JKPodcast. Turnbuckle Talk is also partnered with Phoenix at FNXFit.com, where you get 15% off all your health supplements simply by using promo code TBTalkPod. Follow the show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter by searching at TB Talk Pod. Listen on Podbean, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere you catch your favorite programs. And now, pro wrestling fanatics, are you ready? Here are your hosts, Mighty Joe Morin and Karl Karufel.
That's right, everybody. My name is Karl Karufel, and I am beside the curator of topics, normally Mighty Joe, and this is Turnbuckle Talk. And just as our friend Bubba Duke, Don Lewis, says, Mighty Joe, let's rock and roll, buddy.
Yeah, for sure. Typically, I am the curator of topics, but actually this week, Karl has put together our run for our episode here, so we'll be going off of Karl's list of stuff that we want to talk about. And I guess the other thing to kind of mention here, Karl, why we're slightly late, down where I am at, we are actually under some bit of a weather warning, some really wild lightning and thunder going on. So if I magically disappear, that will be why, because we'll see what kind of happens. We'll get as much in as we can while I'm here, and if I disappear, Karl will definitely continue on with us, and maybe we'll even have some help on deck if need be.
Picture it, Sicily. Wait. So have you ever seen one of those old wash tubs, those old metal wash tubs? Okay, so if you're in a basement of a house and you take that metal wash tub and you drop it, that reverbish sound that it makes, that's what the thunder sounded like coming over my headphones through Mighty Joe's microphone in the basement. Wow, that is some powerful weather going on there right now.
Yeah, for sure, man. I've been outside and experienced that. I'm actually fond of like bad weather, thunderstorms, and lightning, and that kind of stuff. But hopefully it doesn't interrupt the broadcast today, so to speak. So let's see what we can do. Like I said, usually I'm the curator of topics here, Karl, but you are this week. So what do you got for our first topic here for this week to cover?
First topic here is something that I found kind of interesting, and that is, as you have talked about and you've pointed out before, that the WWE and AEW seem to still have this stupid little rivalry thing going on, kind of throwing jabs and stuff like that at each other. Well, we had someone again within AEW throw some jabs towards the WWE. First off, John, thanks for dropping by, man. We love you.
One half of one of the beards of Between Two Beards.
That is correct. So AEW goes off the air, and then we have Mr. Kingston come out, and he's already out there. Everything's happened. Everything's gone on. We've just had an amazing matchup between Kenny Omega and Jungle Boy for the AEW Championship, which was absolutely insane and not my pick for match of the week this week. But we had him come out, and essentially this is what he says. I'm just going to read through it super quick as soon as I grab it here, because I've got it, since we really can't play it.
No.
He says here, where is it? I don't want to read the entire thing. Okay, once the dust settles. Okay, that's what I'm talking about, Kingston said, as the crowd cheered for the wrestlers that were inside of the ring, because the competition doesn't want to hear these fans. Oh, I guess I'm burning another bridge. Surprise. ladies and gentlemen, AEW cares about their fans because we are not here just to get ourselves a paycheck. We're here every week with you people, without you people, and we come out here and bust our asses. We love professional wrestling. Right, so that's just the quick little gist of that. He goes on to say, the match between Omega and Jungle Boy, you're not going to see that on any other channel, quote-unquote channel. You will not see legends who are respected on the other channel. You will not see people like me and my best friend, Penta, on the other channel. So really, kind of not mentioning the WWE at all, but kind of throwing that little bit of a jab out there towards the WWE. And essentially headliner for all of this is people went home happy after hearing what Eddie Kingston had to say. Now, I want your take, Mighty Joe. Do you feel that, and I'm sure you've listened to it or read it yourself, do you feel that this was something that was just simply to get people to go home happy because of the results that happened from that main event matchup?
There's a couple different ways to look at this. I mean, it's definitely a product of the era that we're in, right? I mean, a lot of this kind of stuff would happen at shows. I mean, it's happened at shows from now going back to however long. When you go off air, when the show's over, there's usually a little bit of extracurricular activity that happens. Either it's like a little bonus match, or it's someone from the audience gets to hang in the ring with somebody who's worked at the match, or there's some type of thing to quote unquote send the fans home happy, so to speak, right?
Yes. Now,
typically a lot of that kind of stuff in our earlier days of watching professional, a lot of it wouldn't get it out because we didn't all have, and the people on audio aren't going to see this, but have these things in our hands all the time so they can record video anywhere we are at any time. So
cell phones.
A lot of this kind of stuff gets out a lot often. At least a lot more often now than it did before. I guess the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
So there's that to take into account there. I mean, this isn't something that's new, and it's been going on for a long time. But like I said, we see it more often. Now, at the same time, too, I've been pretty vocal. Well, I'm not to in full transparency, just to put it out there off the hop. I am not somebody who's just like an anti AEW hater, and like every single thing they do, I just shit on. Oh no, they're horrible. Everything they do. That's not the case. I do like things that AEW does. Am I a 100% fan? They think that they are indestructible and they don't do anything wrong? Absolutely not. I'm a critic. I point out nonsense when I see it, regardless of what company it is going on. I have said that I feel like this company, more than others right now, do take a lot of shots when we should just be concentrating on doing our own thing. I get it. Maybe they still feel it as a competition. Clearly, WWE has even said it. We don't see them as competition, really. I mean, it's like comparing apples to oranges, or whatever comparison you want to make. It's the type of thing where I don't know. Like I get wanting to take the occasional jab to kind of, competition can be good, but still at the same time, if you're constantly doing it, and if it's really just kind of like a one-way thing, like AEW does it to WWE way more than WWE does to AEW. Like it's very rare that WWE will take an actual legitimate shot at AEW. With AEW, sure, they do it a lot with them. So for me, just it's not. Some people see it as, well, they're being really confident and they're really taking shots. For me, it actually, I think, has the reverse kind of effect. For me, it's almost a sign of weakness. We feel like maybe we're not kind of doing that well, so we have to compensate by taking these ribs and taking these shots at the company, right? Like I said, there's a lot of different ways to kind of interpret this, and I don't think that really anything is wrong. It's really one of those things where it's up for debate, and two people, in this case, two friends that have known each other over 30 plus years, are probably not going to agree on this what's going on here. There's so many different ways to look at it. For me, like I see kind of both sides of what's kind of going on here, but I feel like AEW, it's like they're trying too hard in this aspect of like taking so many jabs. Like even there was a post recently with Andrade and Charlotte's got a WWE hat and Andrade's got a AEW hat on, right? It's these kind of things where it's like I get it, but at the same time too, it gets under my skin a little bit too.
Now, do you think that this might be possibly a byproduct of former workers within the WWE and really just wanting to kind of put a little bit of a shadow over top of the company that they formerly worked for because they're maybe a little disgruntled?
Sure. That's a fair statement. I think we can I think most fans, and I think, with us here and even our friends over at Love Wrestling and in the HTM network, I think the majority would say that's a very fair statement.
Okay, yeah. Because that's something that we really haven't mentioned or even talked about before. And I mean, it's not as though, like Eddie Kingston himself has even really had a lot of dealings with the WWE per se. But I mean, he's a big time veteran in the world of professional wrestling and has a lot of friends that have come from many different companies, including those from the WWE. So, and Eddie Kingston has always been a voice for the voiceless, pretty much. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm chalking this up to right now, is that he's just trying to put out there that, we're a good company and we're gonna listen to our fans. We're gonna make sure that you guys are heard, because that's something that we want to do. We want to ensure that you guys are heard and listened to. Unlike, which is the majority of people who are fans of the WWE are pretty vocal about, I wish they would just listen to us.
It's definitely it's a double-edged sword there, because I mean, we are seeing both extremes, right? And one danger too, though, is you can go too far in the opposite. You can listen to your fans too much, and then every kind of wacky, crazy idea that they have, and be like, oh yeah, we'll do that because our fans want it, when maybe it's not a good idea to do it, right? So you need to be careful. You still need to, and I think that this is one big criticism I have for AEW, is I don't think that they've discovered yet what kind of professional wrestling promotion they are, because they're all over the map. They do all kinds of stuff, I mean, which is fine, and we're still trying to find our identity, but I think that they haven't really established who they are in the landscape of what's out there. A lot of companies, WWE is the entertainment company. You want to talk pure wrestling and that stuff, you go with New Japan.
Japan, yeah.
Ring of Honor, kind of the same deal, right? So, or AEW, it's like they're all over the place. So like it's almost like somebody with like a little bit of ADHD, or just they can't, they're just all over the place. So it's maybe not the greatest comparison, but just I think you know what I mean. Just because they have so many different styles of matches and everything. Again, it's a weird thing. Like, I don't want to sound like a hater, because I do like some things that this company does, but they still do some things that kind of really kind of cringe, or I just get downright kind of pissed off about. Same thing with WWE, and New Japan does silly things too. Maybe not to the same extent, but right. But yeah, man, it's just it's the type of thing where I think it'll be interesting, once they get back touring again. Not only this company, but WWE. We can reestablish, really how the fans feel about this product, with AEW, with WWE, and then we can kind of go from there. I think we might see a little bit of a shift in how they kind of go about doing their shows, because they have 4 shows. They have 3 YouTube shows now, and then the one that's on television. That's another thing too. You need to be careful you don't water down your content. But I do get it. The roster is getting a little bit bloated too, right? That's another issue. I mean, we got to give everybody something to do. But we saw what happened, and I always try to make the WCW reference. Once they started doing Thunder, they started to spread themselves too thin. The content became watered down, right? So I got to remind these guys, hey, I get it. You guys are creative and you want to do a bunch of stuff, but once you start doing too much, it can be to your detriment.
It definitely can. WWE has been watering down their roster recently as well. Yeah. We are talking more releases from the company, this time centered around 205 Live. It almost seems as though the 205 brand is dead in the water, and it's unfortunate that even that includes some Canadian friends, the Canadian tag team of the Bollywood Boys, now without their job for the last 5 years within the WWE and the 205 Live branding. Mighty Joe, do you see this as the death of 205 Live and a continuation of just cruiserweight on NXT? Or what do you see happening here, my friend?
I think I'll plead ignorance on this one here, Karl, because I wasn't even aware that the Bollywood Boys were still there, and I haven't watched 205 Live in a long time, which is kind of a shame because, again, to make another WCW reference, I liked a lot of the cruiserweight wrestling that was done in WCW. Having said that, comparing, Ultimo Dragon, Rey Mysterio, Dean Malenko to what we have in the WWE is like comparing, pumpkins to, lampposts. Two completely different things. I just pick two random things that just aren't even related to each other, right? They're complete opposites that don't have any kind of connection. I mean, the cruiserweight division in WCW was fantastic, and 205 Live, it just never that cruiserweight classic was fantastic, and then there was just zero momentum coming out of that. I have no clue what happened there. I was a big fan of that tournament. They brought some top great talent. They even managed to get Kota freaking Ibushi from New Japan to get involved in this tournament. And then after that, we took a big dump.
Took a dump and went to garbage. It's very unfortunate to see that all of this has actually happened, but I do get it and I do understand. Because just like you said, you have not been watching 205 Live. You didn't even know that the Bollywood Boys were still there. So what does that really mean for that brand itself? It's time to cut the ties with that. Let it go. Keep those that can help build some momentum for NXT and keep NXT as a third brand within the company, as opposed to having a fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh brand. So I totally get it. I understand. And especially if you have this many people that's on that roster, there's going to have to be releases. You're going to have to let them go because you're going to have nowhere for them. So why not cut ties, let them go, wish them the best in their future endeavors, and let them go and work for another company. That's smart to me. Very, very smart. And most of the workers coming out of that are going to be thankful for that because now they can go and expand themselves and do what they want and what they need and possibly make more money.
Yeah, for sure. Don saying the big problem is it was only on the network. Definitely a factor. And, I haven't subscribed to the network in quite a while now. It's been a while since I've canceled my network subscription. And, going back to the Singh brothers, to the Bollywood Boys, I mean, honestly, well, to make kind of light of the situation, I thought that Randy had killed the one guy. When he dumped him on the announce table, I was like, that dude's dead. He's dead. Right? So, and even Randy was like, did I hurt him? But I digress on that. But it's the type of thing, again, where just like all these releases again, and the weird thing with it is I'm glad that only the one person has come back, like Joe. But even that,
yes,
it's treading on dangerous ground. And don't get me wrong, I love Joe. I'm glad that they're going to do something with him. But at the same time, like every other talent that's been released, it's got to be going, what the hell is going on here? Right? You brought him back. We get it, Samoa Joe, but I mean, all these other talents has got to be thinking, what the hell is going on here? Like, is the company, is Vince going to sell? What's going on? Why are all these releases happening? And is Joe going to be just the first of a few to come back? We heard rumblings of Braun Strowman coming back. Like, why go through all this BS and this nonsense if you're only going to take someone back? It's at like a shareholder level and somebody who's invested in the company. It's got to create some uncertainty as well. I know we're kind of delving into like the non-wrestling aspect and the business aspect of wrestling, but even those people have got to be thinking, what are the people owning this company? What are they up to here? What are they up to? What do you think, Karl? I mean, is there still a possibility? And it's kind of a slow burn here, but I mean, they got to be getting ready to sell, right? I mean, we're still going through with releases.
I mean, we definitely talked about that before, and I talked about those 10 points from, I believe it was McLean Magazine or something like that.
Huffington Post or something, wasn't it? Something like that.
Could be. Yeah.
Like that, yeah.
We went through it, though. We went through those 10 points, and we're still seeing those signs of those 10 points. Downsizing, Vince is losing his mind.
There's that.
The liquidation of assets and, different stuff like that, right? So, I mean, yeah, definitely they could be looking at selling. But then I kind of come to it and I look at it and I go, but wait a second. So they just A&E just did this huge thing on several different wrestlers doing biographies. They also did all of this lost treasures. They're going in and spending money to go and find these products, these outfits, this memorabilia to bring back to put into what eventually, from what we're hearing, is supposed to be a full-fledged Hall of Fame museum that's
long
going
overdue,
on.
by the way. That's long overdue, by the way.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
So, is the WWE really selling, or are they doing this with A&E to really boost their numbers to get more people to watch and attend?
It's a weird, wacky mystery. Like, I've even picked the brains of some of our colleagues, throughout Love Wrestling and HTM, and we're all kind of like, we think we're selling, they're selling, we think maybe they're not. It's like, dude, it's just like, it's weird. And I think that along with it, I think it's even further causing the WWE product specifically a lot of trouble. We even have, I know I'm jumping the gun a little bit here, Karl, but I mean, this writer that they hired, like I know that this is kind of maybe possibly further down our run here, but I still want to talk about it. I mean, what the hell are we doing? Like it's so I'll let that be for now, because we'll get to it.
We definitely will. It is 100% there. Something else that seems to be a little bit confusing to me, but yet I do kind of understand where they're going with this. We have a new contender for the Universal Championship. Going up against Roman Reigns is going to be Edge. We haven't seen hide nor hair of Edge in months. And now all of a sudden he's back and he's getting a championship match at the next pay-per-view. I understand what they're doing and where they're going with this, but this just seems totally out of left field for me. Mighty Joe, what?
So the only rationale that I have for this, and this is going to sound just as ridiculous as this premise is, I'm going to tie this into a golf reference. Okay. Hopefully you'll see where. Bear with me on this, folks. The Masters golf tournament, and I think some of the other major tournaments. If you are a previous winner of said championship, you get to come back for the rest of your life to compete if you so choose. Now, I don't know if this is limited only to the golf. I almost said the golf of sport. The sport of golf. I'm all over the place today, but as far as I know, that's limited to that sport. So that's the only thing that I can come up with a rationale to justify in my brain, was that maybe that there's this hidden stipulation in Vincent Kennedy McMahon's head that if you're a previous winner of the WWE Championship, you can compete for it again whenever the hell you want to. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, it really honestly makes absolutely no sense to me right now either. Yeah, I mean, like I've worked in the business, in the wrestling industry, I would say for at least 22 years, and this is actually making absolutely, it does make sense, but it doesn't, because I'm looking forward to future and what can be done. And in the future, we already know, okay, it's already being built up to this. We're going to be getting a first time ever, and I guarantee it, people, we're going to see Seth Rollins versus Edge. Is what we're going to be seeing. 100%. I'm telling you, write it down, mark it on your calendars, go and put some freaking money on that, and you are going to make money, because that bet is gold. We're going to see Seth Rollins versus Edge down the road. Yeah. So Seth Rollins was on the Talking Smack and was very vocal about why the does he get a shot? And I just went through this hellacious match. I just went through all of this. How am I not getting this shot? Well, yeah. So how many times have we seen Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins? Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins. We've seen that before. We've seen them tag team. We've seen them against each other. We've seen it so many times. Yeah. Let's give the people something interesting, something that has never been done before. Let's bring Edge back because he's ready. Let's use him. And I think we're going to see Edge take the championship, and then we're going to have, this matchup, Seth Rollins and Edge. So that's the down the road that I can see from all of this, but still, does it make sense? No, I'm sorry.
Another one of my fears with this here, Karl, they've been doing really, really good, strangely enough, with this Roman Reigns character, probably largely thanks to Paul Heyman. Maybe we're giving Paul too much credit for this, but I really don't think so. I think it really, without Paul, this probably wouldn't be as good as it is. I think most of us could probably agree with that. My biggest fear, if we're going to go with this Edge Roman thing, especially if it's going to be a long-term program, you know what's going to happen, Karl? Especially once fans come back, they're going to turn Roman babyface.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Because WWE does this weird thing when they start building up to these larger quote-unquote matches where and this has been a really bad habit of them lately, is they have the good guy, we have the baby faces doing very heelish things leading up to these larger matches. And if you're somebody like me or like a casual fan, where we're not watching every single minute of these shows to keep up with everything that's kind of going on, we watch this and I go, wait a second, isn't he the good guy? Why is he bashing his head in with a chair? That is not something that a good person does. That is something that a horrible human being who is being a dick does.
Right.
But I digress on that. Just said it's confusing. And like I said, the only thing that I could justify, and you could run with this if you want to, WWE. You can steal my idea if you want. You can give me a little bit of money for it. But if you really, really want to go with the sports-like presentation, include that as a stipulation. It gives you then a reason to bring back a legend that if they are a former champion, yeah, sure, you had that as a stipulation. If you're a former champion, you can choose to challenge a current champion whenever you so wish. I think it would actually be an interesting idea, but at least then we would know that is the reason why this is occurring. That's the important thing. With this, Edge, don't get me wrong, Karl and I, we're Edge fans. I love a lot of things that Edge does. But him challenging Roman Reigns for the championship of the freaking universe out of nowhere, what the hell? Edge, Karl's got him right on his freaking wall, for crying out loud. But
a few times.
For him to be challenging for the championship of the universe out of the blue just does not make sense. Like I said, if they would have said it, maybe they did. Like I said, I don't watch every single week. Hey, it's a former champion. We have this thing now where you could challenge if you're a former champion. Then I'm cool with it. But you can't just do randomness and expect people to understand your product.
Like we talked about, down the road, things that we're going to see is going to be what I talked about. If you don't know what that is because you've just joined us, you're going to have to rewind because I'm not explaining myself all over again.
No, neither am I.
You're just going to have to go and watch it. I do understand where our friend Don is coming from as well. It's like watching Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn again and again and again and again. It's old and dead. Time to just come up with something new. I do get that. I understand that. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, they definitely can go out there and make a good show no matter what they're given. Thankfully, they are two guys that can really do that. So I'm happy about that. And
sir.
Thank you so much. I really like this show too. And if you like this show, share it out. Like us on our social media at TB Talk Pod, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you like what you're hearing and you want to hear more of it, make sure you tell your friends, because the more people that hear, the bigger we're going to get. The bigger we get, the more programs we can bring to you. That's how it works, people. But for everyone that has supported so far, thank you so much. We love each and every one of you. Speaking of things that people love,
sharing. I think you and I are thinking on the same one, like my friend.
Exactly. Speaking of things that people love here, love wrestling. I am absolutely loving what people have done here with the Love Wrestling and the Trevor Project. Mighty Joe.
Guys.
Tell us what's happened.
For our listeners that just watch Turnbuckle Talk and just listen in, if you haven't gone over and checked over the Love Wrestling stuff, why? Go check it out.
Shame on you. Shame.
This last Thursday on the Quizplex show, right? We had Ramdas Randy. We had,
Veda Scott.
Veda Scott and
Nicole Matthews.
That's right. And of course, the wonderful Zach, one of the best hosts in the business. A really incredible thing happened, Karl. We went into that show sitting at about 1,200 for donations for the Trevor, which is, absolutely fantastic. We broke that $1,000 mark before 2 weeks had gone by. And then, for about half of the month, we trickled a little bit, but we still had some love coming in, so to speak. And then that evening, Karl, I would say probably about 3/4 of the way through the show, the news came through the pipe. Spencer sent me a message during the program I was watching in the chat. And one of our viewers / listeners donated $1,000 to this cause. Absolutely incredible, man. Like I said, you and I have been part of some other charities and doing other things where we've attempted to do fundings and extra lives and stuff like that, and things have fallen completely flat. This has been absolutely freaking amazing. Like $1,000, like I said, in those first couple weeks, and then this last Thursday for one of our Love Wrestling fans to drop $1,000 towards this cause is absolutely incredible. I've never been a part of something like that. It was really, really cool. Even after the to peel back the curtain a little bit, after the Quizplex show had ended, I actually hopped in with everybody, and we were all like just overjoyed, and some of us were even crying for crying out loud. Especially our friend Ravenous Randy Myers, who this is very close to home for him because he is somebody who has struggled with specifically this, so it's a cause that's very, very close to him and of course to us here. So it's just, dude, it's been absolutely incredible to see this charity come to fruition, and not only that, just to see the support for it going through this month, dude. It's hard to even put it into words.
It has been absolutely fantastic. We are at June 28th right now, so I don't know what you guys can do, but if you can make a donation, we'd like you to. Even if it's $2, whatever you can give. We bumped it from $2,000 up to $3,000. Let's see if we can get it to that 3,000 mark by the end of this month. Donate.tiltify.com/@lovewrestlingca/Trevor Project is where you go. If you're not familiar and can't get all of that written down right now, then just go to lovewrestling.ca. The links are right there. Again, it's donate.tiltify.com/@lovewrestlingca/Trevor Project. And if you can't make a monetary donation, share it out, please. That's it. That's all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, man. Well, that's that was quite something there. I think after all of that awesomeness, we need to take a brief break here, Karl. Let's hear from our friends over at Collar and ElbowBrand.com, and then we'll be back for more Turnbuckle Talk.
Wrestling. A love and a passion we all share. I've started a wrestling brand. The wrestling brand. A brand founded on the aspects of wrestling. Two entities working together to create a product that connect emotionally for people everywhere. Collar and Elbow is the brand. Passion and love for wrestling is the drive. I am Al Snow, and this is Collar and Elbow, the wrestling brand.
The dictionary defines hero as a person who is admired or idealized for courage, outstanding achievements, or noble qualities. Being a hero in life is far more than words printed on a page. It takes an unwavering code, a compass that points true north, always. And in times like these, it takes sacrifice. Hero shouldn't be a word defined by a dictionary. It's a word that should be defined by the best of us. Hero has a new definition.
So here you go, a few words from our friends over at Collar and ElbowBrand.com. And as you heard, if you use our promo code JKPodcast at the checkout, you will get 10% off your entire order. Just go and check it out. They always have tons of great merchandise, and there's always new stuff too, which is always awesome.
It definitely is. It is absolutely fantastic. I am always wearing my Collar and Elbow branded hat. As always, I absolutely love this thing since day one of the inception and creation of Collar and Elbow brand. I have had this and I am absolutely in love with it. I continue to wear it every day. Partnerships are amazing for us, and we are so thankful to have been the first sponsored podcast from Collar and Elbow brand, which is absolutely fantastic. And I mean, partnerships definitely work. Sponsorships work. All of these things work if they're done with the right people. Sponsorships are looking at other people as well. They are always out there. I get emails about it frequently. Hey, we'd like to partner with you. Check out our stuff, blah, blah, blah. We just found out recently about a released superstar from the WWE, Tommy End, or Aleister Black, as he was known there, that has signed a new sponsorship deal. See, people, sponsorships work. They 100% do. And this is something that, they came to him about, to my understanding. And it's a deal with Hayabusa or Hayabasa. I don't know how people want to pronounce it. Okay, but Hayabusa Combat Sports is what it is. Essentially, they are a company that's what they do. They do combat sports. They do not sports. Sorry, they do the equipment and apparel. Is what they do, which is absolutely amazing because that's what we're doing with Collar and Elbow brand. So it's really nice to be able to hear about others who have, been released as part of the quote unquote budget cuts within the WWE. Be able to have other companies come to them and say, "We know who you are. How'd you like to help us sponsor our stuff?" Joe, what do you think about Tommy End taking a deal to have this sponsorship?
The name of the sponsor, Hayabusa, which again, there's like a million and one different ways to pronounce it. That's what I've always pronounced it as. I think that's very telling of what Mr. Tommy End, or however he chooses to be referred to as now. I think it's very telling what he'll be involved with next because, I mean, before his professional wrestling days, very notable person in the kickboxing arena, so to speak. I think that is likely where he will go back to, whether it be in a competition capacity or whether it's as a trainer or what have you. I don't know. He could be one of these people that maybe was smart with his WWE money and then can maybe just live off of that for the rest of his life and then pursue a passion project. It really kind of depends, I think, on the person. Even to mention other people that were currently released, I think another really notable one, Tyler Breeze, is definitely one of those ones where, again, if he was very, very smart with his money, this is a guy that could just live off of that and just choose to be a trainer for the rest of his quote-unquote career. Oh, yeah. And then, like I said, pursue like a passion project or what have you, right? And some of these wrestlers, too, have degrees in certain disciplines. Very intelligent, because if something happens with their main source of money, you have a backup plan, which is very, not only for professional wrestlers, but I think for anybody who chooses a profession, good to have kind of an ace in a hole, so to speak, or to have something you can fall back onto if, the payment gets pulled out from underneath you, so to speak. But it's interesting to see because, I mean, when you watch Aleister Black or Tommy End style, I mean, it was very much, a lot of strike-based kind of stuff going on, but very, very good grappler as well. But, dude, I think I'd love to see him like get into like K1 kickboxing or that kind of stuff. I think like bare knuckle fighting, which is kind of making a bit of a comeback, might be a little much. The MMA thing is something
I think he could do it.
See, and that's a statement I hear a lot of people making, but very, very few, Karl, have made that move successfully. Not everybody is Brock Lesnar. Not everybody is Dan Severn, right? So there are a few that can do this and can do it well. Brock, I think, is the best notable one recently. Dude went from wrestling strictly just doing WWE stuff, and in the span, I believe, of a few months, went and took on a top 10 ranked MMA fighter and beat him at UFC 200, a high-profile event on top of that, not only a very high level competitor, but a very notable event. This is right when they were making the transition to Fox. Who does that? Who goes from a sports entertainment thing, not necessarily true. You can have that debate, and then to go compete in a legitimate fight and not only be competitive, but to beat somebody who is no pushover. Mark Hunt, dude, has knocked out some of the best in the world and went in and destroyed him. Well, not destroyed him. He did beat him. But yeah, just it'd be interesting to see what Mr. End chooses to do. I think it'd be successful at whatever he does. Personally, I'd like to see him stay in wrestling, but again, it's entirely. I think too many wrestling fans. I think they're almost kind of selfish when it comes to some of these guys. They get so attached that they never want to see them leave wrestling. Some of these guys. This may not be a negative thing. This might be a blessing in disguise for some of the people. Maybe it's even something that they're hoping for. As bad as weird as that kind of sounds. Maybe some of them wanted to get released and they're like, okay, now I can go and actually pursue something that I really want, right? Because they were so miserable and things weren't going the way that. Dude, there's so many different ways to approach this, and it doesn't apply the same across the board. The big thing on the internet wrestling community is whenever there's a release or something questionable with the WWE, they're going to AEW. Not always the case, and not everybody is the same. Right, not everybody's wired the same, and not everybody has the same interests and pursuits. Right, so it's really up to the person, and whatever he chooses to do, I'm sure he'll be good at it.
Oh, I'm sure he will be as well. I'm just happy and thankful that he has got some sort of sponsorship deal to be able to keep him in a little bit of limelight, because what's going to happen is he is going to have to do Twitch streams and what have you, and promote this stuff just like we do with our collarandelbowbrand.com and with our friends over at Phoenix at fnxfit.com as well, where if you use promo code TBTalkPod, you're getting 15% off your entire purchase there. Now, Mighty Joe, I hope you have something here, but if you don't, I think I may have something pretty big right now. So let's get right to it.
I'm glad that you pushed it, because I almost pushed the button and we would have had like that car door situation where like the person inside is trying to let the person outside in, and they press the button and it's like click link and they cancel each other out. But yeah, for breaking news, I guess for me, the most notable thing, one of these releases coming out of this past week from the WWE, one of my favorite professional wrestlers, Tyler Breeze, to see him and Fandango get let go. Man, talk about like a talented tag team. And even if you wanted to use both guys individually, absolutely fantastic. Even like if you wanted to have him as like the Johnny Curtis character, that would have been like fantastic. And I mean, Tyler Breeze, I always refer to him and the match that he had in NXT. I don't know why his name is escaping me.
Jushin
Thunder Liger. Total brain fart moment. Like one of my favorite matches of like the last decade, and I completely forgot who the one guy was. If you can have not only a match, but then like to be praised by Jushin Thunder Liger, he's somebody that you need to make note of. And he's somebody that like, damn it, like it's one of those ones where I'm going to be that jealous wrestling fan where it's like, shit, like you had somebody so talented and you pissed it away, right? It's such a shame. Such a shame. He could have been, at the very, very least an NXT champion, and I think a really damn successful one. There were so many good matches left off the table too, him and Adam Cole and all these other guys that he could have done so much good stuff with, and now, I mean, I hope he lands on his feet, and I'm sure that he can. It'll just be a matter of where. The selfish New Japan wrestling fan of me would love to see him make a run through the best of Super Juniors with guys like Hiromu Takahashi and all those guys, Desperado. Dude, like it would be so cool even to see him in the America version of New Japan. There's some cool stuff he could do with there. So we'll see what happens. I hope that he gets to do something that he'll enjoy at the very least.
You have any other breaking news for us?
That's about all I got, man. That's the only one that was on my radar and had a single tear running down my face.
I got something that, we need to keep this between us, okay, people, because this isn't fully...
It's okay, this isn't on the internet or anything.
It is not on the internet. This is absolutely nowhere right now, to be honest with you. Okay. Speedball Bailey. Famous professional Canadian professional wrestler.
Friend of Love Wrestling.
A friend of Love Wrestling, a Japanese working wrestler with DDT Pro. He may have gotten a big signing.
Oh.
Okay, so that's all I'm going to say right now is that it's very possible that he may have gotten a big signing very, very recently with a conglomerate. I only know this because of a chat forum that we are part of, and we are always within this community. We are always trying to, within the Love Wrestling community, we're always trying to make sure that we are getting interviews and good things coming from Canadian professional wrestlers, not just Canadian professional wrestlers, but we're a little more partial to them because Love Wrestling is Canadian, just like us. That's right. I'm a Canadian. So yeah, I've been kind of reading through that as this episode has been going on here, and that's the biggest breaking news right now. So keep an eye out in the conglomeration for somebody named Speedball Mike Bailey. This is going to be very interesting, the progression of all of this, and I am super happy for this. I am definitely going to miss him within anything that we have done with Love Wrestling. If this is all legit, which the people that I'm talking to right now, they're pretty legit when it comes to knowing stuff within this business, just as we are. So, yeah, dude, yeah! Woo!
I guess the only other one that I think to mention of is it looks like over in NXT UK, a pretty big signing might happen in the form of Bea Priestley. But in traditional WWE fashion, when it comes to naming wrestlers, we couldn't leave well enough alone. It looks like she will be named Blair Davenport. We just can't leave Bea Priestley alone. We gotta pick some silly name. I mean, for those who watched some Bea Priestley, they saw that little brief vignette thing. It's pretty clear that it's her. Our friend Michael Jargo, who is a expert when it comes to New Japan and Stardom, spotted her right away, and I trust his intuition. And the name, kind of like the Frankie Monet thing with Taya Valkyrie. It's like, you can just leave well enough alone. Maybe there was a trademark issue. I get that. But Blair Davenport, that just doesn't strike fear into the individual.
Very British.
It's very much so. Very much so.
Very, very
on
British.
That side of things too, I mean, the interesting thing is, I don't know how rock solid contracts are over in New Japan Pro Wrestling. I mean, her better half, Will Ospreay, is currently injured, but the potential of him possibly maybe coming over to an NXT brand would be a very interesting thing, because then you have that built-in storyline, a possible dream match with Seth Rollins as well, which would be very, very interesting, right? So they took a lot of shots at each other, and Ospreay owned his ass. So it would be an opportunity for Seth to get some redemption there. But, sad to say, Will Ospreay's wrestling days may be behind him. That looks like a really, really bad injury that makes Daniel Bryan's injury look like nothing. So we'll see. I mean, at the very least, maybe he could be a personality, but not to be the Will Ospreay that we know and love. But man, it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. Like I said, not digging the name, but I mean, she's a great women's talent, and they could definitely benefit from having her there.
Oh, yeah. They definitely could. Before we move on to our next segment here, just let me take a drink of my non-sponsored Dr. Pepper. Everybody, make sure that you're going out and supporting Dr. Pepper, because it is the greatest pop that is out there. Or if you're in America, soda, I guess. I'm sorry. I'm Canadian. I call it pop. Soda pop, soda. However you want to claim and call it, this is Dr. Pepper, and everybody needs to be drinking some Dr. Pepper.
Well, my non-sponsored drink is empty, so if you guys want to get one for Mighty Joe, I'd be all for it, so I don't run out halfway through the show. Just saying, but yeah.
All right. Now from there, we are going to move on to what seems to be a favorite for a lot of people. Our match of the week.
Yes.
Oh, this honestly is a favorite for a lot of people. A lot of people have messaged me and said, we love when you're doing this and blah, blah, blah. And, oh, here's my choice and here's what I would have picked. And I love getting all of those messages. So continue to send them to me, whether it's on my first personal Facebook account, whether it's on the Facebook page, the Instagram page, Twitter. I don't care how. Send them to us because I love reading all of them.
For sure. Now, the age-old debate. Who goes first?
I'll go first because I know 100% that you are not going to pick this one.
Hey, we've proved each other wrong on this one before, my friend. But if you pick this one, my head will explode on camera now. Go.
Canadian Wrestling's Elite Adrenaline, episode number 6. Joe's already like, nope, I did not pick that one. Thank God, because I didn't want my head to explode, and I didn't want to see that either. CWE Adrenaline episode 6 can be found on YouTube by searching Canadian Wrestling's Elite. Definitely go and search them out and see what they've been doing. Jude Dawkins versus Drag Neil. For the HIW Championship in Canadian Wrestling's Elite. Dude, if you have not watched this yet, you need to. This was a fantastic matchup. Absolutely any time that Drag Neil is in a matchup, I'm there watching it because he's fantastic. So there it is, my match of the week. Mighty Joe, what's yours?
So yeah, mine is definitely not coming from CWE. Not to hate on the CWE, I absolutely love the CWE. They're coming with a tour soon. I don't know if they're going to be coming back through your neck of the woods. I hope so. But mine is coming from Ring of Honor. And this is another matchup that, another reason why I love Ring of Honor is they put out a lot of their content for free on YouTube. And this is one of those matches that all of our viewers can check out because it is available on that platform. This is coming from the Ring of Honor Field of Honor show from 2016. Karl and I have covered a match from this event. Of course, Kazuchika Okada versus Roderick Strong. This match was also on this card. Another absolutely fantastic one that you guys need, especially if you're a fan of the actual professional wrestling. This is a must-watch. We're talking the at the time never openweight champion Katsuyori Shibata versus Kyle O'Reilly. Wow. Like I said, if you like the actual wrestling that happens in wrestling matches, this is right up your alley. Both guys absolutely fantastic. Really cool to see Shibata because he is somebody that's he's an interesting individual. Like if I were to compare him to somebody, it's like a combination of Antonio Inoki and Minoru Suzuki with somebody who can high fly a little bit like Finn Balor does. Like he's a combination of all three guys. He is somebody who's actually still considered to be under contract with New Japan Pro Wrestling, but is currently on a very long hiatus with this is again why I like having Jargo around because I need to pick his brain on this one. So I'll have to get the information, maybe come back on next week. And because I believe that there was some type of head injury that happened because I think he uses like a headbutt move quite regularly in his repertoire. And I think that may have caught up with him somehow. And there was some kind of complication with that. So he's been inactive, still considered to be under contract. But somebody who is, if you haven't watched any Shibata matches, you just need to. Like I said, he's a combination of Inoki, Suzuki, and a little bit of Finn Balor mixed in there to boot. He's absolutely incredible. Like it's not like a flashy gimmick. Dude comes out just the black trunks, but I mean he's a beast in that ring in every aspect. He's got the whole package. So just go and check him out. And Kyle O'Reilly, fellow Canadian, speaks for himself. Absolutely fantastic, and he held his own, and he actually beat Shibata in this match, which was pretty freaking incredible. So go and check it out for free on the Tube of Views.
Sounds fantastic. I do want to say there is a place where you can get some flashy gear, some merch, some great stuff, and here it is for you. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Go and check out our friends over at Ignite Wrestling. Miss Kim has done some amazing stuff over there, and she graciously has allowed us to play her merchandise commercial on our show. So I always want to make sure when we can, we get that in there. So go and check out Ignite Wrestling. Find it online. It's on all the different social medias, and there is a website as well. And if you have a Roku device, you can download the Ignite Wrestling app on there, which will allow you to view some of the amazing shows that have happened over there. Thank you so much, Miss Kim. Thank you to everyone in Ignite Wrestling. We love you all. Now is the time, Mighty Joe, for our Showstopper segment. First off, I have to say, Mighty Joe, thank you for letting me take the lead on everything here today. This has been absolutely fantastic. I absolutely love hosting podcasts. This is so fantastic to me, and thank you for allowing me to do this today. So our Showstopper segment today is kind of talking and revolving around, does the WWE need to pay more attention to who they're hiring? Or do they need someone more competent to do the hiring? So as Mighty Joe alluded to earlier, I'm going to let him take this one in just a moment here. He alluded to this writer who was recently fired after coming out and saying that she knows nothing about the WWE or professional wrestling. Mighty Joe, take this away.
I mean, this is the kind of thing where this could very quickly escalate from a PG style show to a rated R, adults only, 18 only show if I really wanted to go that far. How can I approach this in a classy way where I don't look like a scumbag? This one's tough here, Karl, because even just around what we do with Love Wrestling, with HTM, even our friends over at the Hami Media Group, we know so many great minds in wrestling. You know, even just outside of ones who have competed in the ring, like our friends Ben Hami, like our friend Stevie Richards, just to name a few, involved with the Hami platform over there, and even ones who have followed the industry for so many years, like myself, like yourself, like our friend Chris Parrish over at Love Wrestling, like our friend Michael Jargo over at the HTM Podcast Network. This, like I said, even just what we do, where we're surrounded by great minds who could book excellent wrestling shows, even outside of WWE. And then, you know, we enter Kenny Smobley, the name of this writer they hired. Now, I'm all for giving anybody a chance here, Karl. I mean, when it comes to being a writer, I would imagine there's some skills that are transferable to a certain extent, right? Like I said, I don't want to completely bury this person because I have not been in that situation myself. I have to reality check, keep that into perspective a little bit, right?
Sure.
Hopping into this cannot be an easy thing. But at the same time, Karl, you can't just be an idiot and go onto like a podcast or whatever this was, like a radio show or whatever, when you've just been hired by a company, and then to tell a third party that you have no idea what's going on, and then to call current WWE champion Bobby Ashley, I mean, and then you're actually involved in writing storylines for this person, like, dude, like it's absolutely mind-boggling.
To quote her, she says, "It was a surprise for me. They didn't even require me to know anything about wrestling." This is the people that hired her, a comedy writer. Yeah. Okay, just to give you a little background,
awful
super quick.
Comedian, by the way.
She's a comedy writer. You know, she had done comedy writing as well as stand-up a little bit herself. She's made television appearances, background in both performance and production. She even did her own stand-up routine on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon at one point, right? We're hiring comedy writers, apparently. And it's not even a requirement, apparently, to know anything about wrestling.
Yeah.
What?
And the catch here, I mean, I haven't seen all of her comedy work, but a lot of it is very. I'll say a lot of it is very racially oriented and borderline racist. So to put somebody in a position like that for a company who is a notable company that's traded, on the New York Stock Exchange, and this is a company that targets mainly a younger audience, and then you're going to put somebody in charge that is going to come up with some questionable material. I mean, just it's like every aspect of this is just wrong and bad and awful. Just even for the WWE, this is a really puzzling move, and yet another thing that just shines a really black light on this company. And it's so incredibly frustrating because, and I'll make this very clear again, I know you and I beat this dead horse a million times now. Karl and I are fans of this company. We love the WWE. We've been fans since we were children, since I was barely tall enough that you couldn't even see me up on this camera right now. I've been
knee high to a grasshopper.
I've been fans of this company, and just recently, it's like they're doing their damnedest to piss me off, and it's terrible because, like I said, I love professional wrestling. I love wrestling. Karl and I are part of a brand called Love Wrestling, not because we hate wrestling, because we love wrestling. But we're also critical when stupid shit happens, and this definitely falls into the stupid shit category, Karl. It's so mind-boggling that such a notable company, supposedly the most prestigious, notoriety. I'm stumbling over my words just because this is so silly. I mean, this is supposed to be the best professional wrestling company in the world, and we're going to take on somebody to help direct the product that knows absolutely nothing about it. It's just.
But in the same token, she is only really the first one that came out to really publicly state something about it.
So how many others have there been?
Well, pardon me?
How many others have there been?
That's exactly the question.
That's the scary part.
We do know that there were sports columnists that didn't really know much about professional wrestling that have been brought in as writers. There have been soap opera writers that have been brought in to write for professional wrestling. Now here a comedian brought in to write for Monday Night Raw. Okay, for the brand that is hurting the most out of all of this, your flagship show and brand is the one that is hurting the most, and you are bringing in and hiring without a prerequisite of having an understanding of professional wrestling. Now, I don't fault her at all for this. She's taking a job.
Sure.
She's taking a writing job.
Sure.
That is what she does, right? She writes comedy. Cool. Okay. Maybe we need a little bit more. No, we don't need any more comedy on Raw. Yeah. Let me correct myself. But like, the people hiring are the ones that should be going, do you know anything about professional wrestling?
It should be like one of the first questions.
Understand storylines within professional wrestling? If you do not, I thank you very much for your time. I don't feel that we would be a good fit together. Thank you so much for coming by.
Right.
What the fuck? It's not that difficult.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's, you had nailed it. Like, it's like if I were to bring on a producer, like if I wanted to just focus on being a host and not worry about that, peeling back the curtain a little bit. Not only am I co-hosting the show with Karl, I mean, I'm producing the audio and everything in the background at the same time, and monitoring and make sure that doesn't look like shit. It would be like if I brought in somebody to do that aspect of it that knew like absolutely nothing about it. And they'd be like, hey, you know what? I'm feeling stupid today. Let's take you on, and you can be our audio producer even though you don't know what a computer is. Don saying interview 1, question 1, do you know anything about wrestling? That literally should be the first question walking in the door. And if you even hesitate to answer that question, there's the door. And you mentioned the Raw thing here, Karl, and to put things into a little bit of perspective too, for maybe those who, for whatever odd reason, like I said, haven't been paying attention to what we're doing over at Love Wrestling, and you should be. We struggle on a weekly basis to get I don't know how many people we have on staff now that absolutely love professional wrestling, and we don't want to touch Raw with a 10-foot pole. We absolutely love to watch wrestling, and like nobody wants to talk about Raw because we feel like there's so many different ways that this is bad. We feel like we're wasting our time. We feel like our intelligence is being insulted. I mean, I can name it in a million different ways. We love talking about wrestling, and we all hate talking about Raw. Nobody wants to do it.
Over at Love Wrestling, we are like the 1970s hippies, the 1960s hippies of professional wrestling. That's what we want to talk about. We want to talk about what we love about professional wrestling. And if we do not love something about professional wrestling, then we are not going to talk about it, except on this podcast here, because although we are part of the Love Wrestling family, we are still technically our own entity, so we can get away with just a little bit more when it comes to our own views and opinions.
Go a little bit rogue.
Yeah, right.
Bit. On this topic, we went a little bit rogue. But yeah, man,
yes.
It's such a shame to like watch like a company that, like I've stated before, and you stated before, and a lot of people that we respected that we've had in this program have stated before, right? This company knows how to do wrestling well. They know how to do wrestling well. The people that were alive during that time that did this good are still there. Right?
Yes.
This isn't a freaking mystery like we don't know how to do. Dude, it's I'm going to make a really weird comparison again, like before I made the golf comparison. It's like when we went to the moon, right? We know how to go to the moon, but what now? That was in the 60s. Now we're in the 2020s. Well, we can't go to the moon because we don't know how. You guys did the 1960s. What, did you just forget how to go? You know how to go. Is it a matter of money? Because we can give you the money. There's lots of money. Get Bezos or one of these Mark Cuban, or like one of these guys. Get one of the Khan family members. There's your money. Let's go to the moon. Oh, but we forgot how. Not their own admission. Well, we've forgotten how to go to the moon. Were you stupid? Like, just and to go back to the wrestling reference. They know how to do good wrestling. When we first started watching, wrestling was good. Was there stupid shit? Of course there was stupid shit. Right? Mantar and the Gobbledygooker.
Duke the Dumpster Drozy.
Right? Gobbledygooker. Even the absolute greatest of all time, in my humble opinion, Roddy Piper, couldn't even save that and make that a thing worth seeing. Even in his own words, I've never tried so hard to put over something that was such shit. And it is not working as the Gobbledygooker, right?
Oh,
sure, they did stupid shit in the background, but the majority of it was good. But now it's like we have to dig so deep into the current product to find these little hidden gems, right? It's not all one big fantastic thing like it used to be. It's these little diamonds in the rough. And they're hard to find these days with this company.
To circle back just super quick before we close things out here,
do you want to have this
today,
debate? Do you want to have a non-wrestling debate? Because I would actually like to have this debate with you.
No, I don't want to have any type of debate at all. What I want is an answer to this question.
Yes.
So this writer, do you think that she would still be with the company had she possibly said, instead of saying, I don't know anything about professional wrestling and they didn't require me to know anything about it, do you think it might have been different had she said, I was not required to know anything about professional wrestling, but they have a team of writers who are willing to train so that there can be a future for writers in professional wrestling. Do you think there would have been a difference if she had spoken it that way instead of just coming out the way she did?
I think some training can help, but I think this is really one of these things here, Karl. And I think you could even say that with what we do, what we do with Turnbuckle Talk and what podcasters do, or really, it can be really used for anything. I think it's one of these cases, I think, where you can receive some training to make you better. But if you really don't have that genuine passion and interest in what it is, you are not going to be good at it. Pure and simple, right? Training is good. Training is fantastic in a lot of things. But if you don't have that genuine gusto and desire, passion for it, sorry. You'll reach a certain plateau.
Sure.
And you may or may not exceed that ceiling. Let's just put it that way.
Well, there we have it. I'm picking up what you're putting down, and I totally get it. We are already at... No, go ahead. Finish up.
I do want to address our friend. Like I said, I know you didn't necessarily want to have this debate with me. I will have it very briefly with Don in the chat here. Totally non-wrestling related. We're going extracurricular activity for this week here, Karl and Don. For a long, long, long time, I was a believer that we did not go to the moon. But I have done a lot of research. Thank you to the power of the internet and knowing what sources to really trust and to really look into with this. I have done a complete 180 on this. I not only believe that men have gone into space, but that we have landed on the moon. That there's a lot of what people would say is evidence that we haven't gone. One thing you have to keep in mind, it was in the 1960s and the technology was not perfect. So there were issues. There's glitches and that kind of stuff, and there still is with technology. But I do believe that we did go. There's a lot of, not evidence that we went here, Karl. There is a lot of proof that we have gone to the moon. So it is there if you know where to look. And the biggest proof that we have gone is that there are still objects that men did leave up on the moon, and they have bounced lasers off the moon, and the reflection has come back, and they can precisely time how long it takes for that to bounce back, and they can calculate the distance, and it did come from the moon. It's a reflecting coming off of a man-made object on the moon. That's really the number one proof that we've gone there, is that there's stuff that we've left back behind there that we can bounce a laser off of. And that's just one of the things. People even doubted that we've actually been able to go into space because we would potentially melt. It's all in how you actually exit the Earth's atmosphere, that you can avoid a lot of the radiation. There's a way to do it. It can be done.
Who is the first person on the moon?
The first person on the moon would have been, it was Neil Armstrong.
No, it wasn't.
Sure it was.
No, it wasn't.
Who do you think it was?
Who took the photo of him? They were the first person. The cameraman. There had to have been a cameraman on the moon first before he made his steps down onto that spaceship.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that, but that's, I don't know about that one. But
I'm kind of agreeing here with Don. In 69, maybe not. Okay, but after that, yes, definitely. Yes,
I'm of the opposite with that one, because, like I said, I do think that this is where there's a bit of a twist in my approach. I think that we did make that initial trip, but I think a lot of those other missions were faked. Isn't the word that I would use. We just used a lot. They took more footage on that initial one, and then we combined that with some things that we staged on Earth. So I think that we did make that initial journey, but I think then the ones afterwards were quote unquote faked. So for me, my theory kind of combines the two, but I do think that we did go, because like I said, they have proven it by bouncing a laser off of a man-made object. It's like an actual reflector off of one of the lunar rovers that they bounced back to the Earth, and so that's pretty conclusive proof that we've gone at least once.
There you have it. Mighty Joe believes that they definitely have been to the moon at least once. Thank you for all of you that stuck around and listened to this dark side of the turnbuckle. I guess maybe we could call it that.
I know more than just wrestling, people. I do a lot of... that's one little thing that, like, if people don't know about me, is I do a lot of research about a lot of interesting stuff, and the moon landing is one thing that I've probably spent too much time researching. I know quite a bit about it.
I will put this out for Mighty Joe then, okay? So you're going to totally tell us where it is on Facebook, but aliens, they do exist. Tell us, Mighty Joe.
It's just something that I do in my spare time. If you are bored and when I'm bored, I do this. You can go on Facebook, and there's a page called Proof Aliens Have Done Everything, and I will occasionally post some things on there. I've actually fooled people into thinking that I'm actually the host of Ancient Aliens on there. I guess my stuff is that believable or that good, I guess. But I have almost 1,000 followers on that page now. It's ridiculous. But
and what's the name of the page again?
It's called Proof Aliens Have Done Everything.
There you go. Go and find that on Facebook. Proof Aliens Have Done Everything.
Yeah.
There we go. Mighty Joe, please. I have already talked about our sponsors today. I have already said where to go for, everything having to do with our social media. I want you to tell people what we have coming up on Love Wrestling and Turnbuckle Rewind.
Yeah, for sure. Back just briefly on the thing, if you want to do the @ thing on Facebook for that, my alien page is actually called @AliensDoStuff. That's the @ on it. And the most recent post was actually a Father's Day post. And I posed the question, are aliens good dads on Father's Day? Ancient alien theorists say yes. That was
what was it again? The @?
Yeah, @AliensDoStuff. So yeah, if you want to go check out my stupid stuff on Facebook, that's where you want to go. But for Turnbuckle Rewind, we have an interesting one here this week, Karl. We are essentially, what were we, 26 episodes already into Turnbuckle Rewind. We are coming full circle with our matches here, because our very first match that we did on Turnbuckle Rewind was, of course, the legendary WrestleMania match between Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant. One of my favorite matches of all time, and this is coming from somebody who's not a Hulk Hogan fan. Well, we are going to essentially be covering the rematch. 1988 WrestleFest cage match. Talking an old school, the old blue cage, Andre versus Hogan again. This one's going to be fun to break down with you, my friend. This one's a match that I had largely forgotten about. So, because I think the WrestleMania match overshadows this one, but this one is definitely entertaining and worth checking out as well. And we'll be talking about it.
Oh yeah, definitely it is. I had completely forgotten about it as well, but I'm super happy that I found it. You asked me to find one for this week, and I was just so happened to be on YouTube, where you can find a lot of free professional wrestling to watch, and this one kind of just popped up, and I'm like, wait a sec. Oh yeah. Oh, yeah. So I am super happy that we'll be able to do this one and cover it. And Mighty Joe, you got anything else for us before we close out today?
Like I said, I think that's really about it. My match of the week for this week, Shibata versus O'Reilly, is probably going to be a contender to be on Rewind at some point. I think that's definitely one worth talking about. And since it does involve a New Japan talent, well, you guys can know where we're going with this one. We'll likely have to include Dr. Jargo in on that episode because... well, we kind of would have to at that point because we need his knowledge when it comes to New Japan Pro Wrestling. And but yeah, outside of that, man, like I said, it's in retrospect a little bit here. We're going a little bit long this week, but I'm going to gush a little bit to see how far we've gone with this platform here, Karl. To go from it being not involving you originally, me and our friend Kyle, with it being the wrestling recap, and then becoming an internet radio show with Turnbuckle Talk, and then us branching out and doing a podcast. And now, we have partners and friends all over the place. We're of course we're friends with the guys over at the Hami Media Group. We're blessed to be part of the HTM Podcast Network, and now we're part of the Love Wrestling platform. Where, like I said, just recently on a show, we raised $1,000 in one day towards the Trevor Project, towards a charity. To be a part of all this is pretty damn cool, and just reminds me of not only that it's cool to be a part of this, but that there are some good people out there as well. Like I said, for one person to donate $1,000 towards a charity because they were watching what we were doing, I mean, if that doesn't make you feel good about what you're doing, I don't know what does.
Exactly.
All right, man.
Well, for Mighty Joe and myself, Karl Karufel, thank you guys so much once again for coming by, taking a look at this. The audio is going to drop. It always does tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Bye.
It's me, it's an R&B to beat. As you can tell in the background, we are out celebrating. That is what we do here at hittingthemarks.com. And I invite everyone to continue to tune in to Turnbuckle Talk, but check out all of our other shows. We have weekly content, especially lit up by the flagship show. You can find that all at hittingthemarks.com.
Run.